Natera people. Really appreciate your viewership and continued and new. It's been really great for me to be able to share my message with you, and it varies on how many people actually watch the whole thing or even care or are even interested in what is going on and what I have to say. So it's really nice to feel like I have an audience that acknowledges my presence and acknowledges any wisdom that I may have to offer. Now, I'm not saying that I'm the smartest person in the world. Or maybe I'd like to believe so, but at least I feel like I'm fairly connected to, upwards, and can offer some spiritual guidance for people, and I think that's a comfort. And I know that spirituality, religion, all those things are highly questioned because they've been abused for so many years, but I think that there's something to be said and sought after when it comes to spiritual advice and spiritual satiety, because sometimes there's just so much pain and there's so much hatred and there's so much anger out there, and it seems like the world is just going to fall apart and crack in half, and that there is no solution and we're all going to die. Or that there's no point to living. I know I've been there. There's several times when it's like very present, and you just question things and you wonder, and you're like, why, and we go about our daily routines. We do our chores. We go to work. We talk to the people in our lives, and that's all distractions for us. But then we come down to it and we're like alone, and it's like really scary. So I really actually highly recommend spending a good day just not talking, just alone, doing whatever you want to do, and see how long you can make it alone. It took me a really long time to be able to do that, but Tuesday I spent a good portion of the day entirely alone, and it was amazing. I was alone in my car. I was alone running around Green Lake. I stopped to get a smoothie, but it was basically alone all day with my thoughts, and it was a really amazing, empowering day. And I know I don't want this to sound like lofty or like, ooh, look at me, I'm so, amazing, but it took me a really long time to get there. I mean, I was really lonely for a very long time being alone because I wasn't connected to myself, and I think that when you are not connected to what you need and your desires and your inner just workings of who you are, and understanding that and getting to know that about yourself, then it really makes you feel lonely because you feel like you're not connected. But when you actually connect to the presence that is within you, which is spirit and spiritual power that you hold, then you are never really alone. You aren't. And I think that's really the misconception about being locked up alone in your room, and and becoming suicidal and being ostracized from the rest of the public. Honestly, I would rather be alone. I mean, I've said this multiple times, and it's just, there's a lot of energies out there that are so in pain because they're not connected within, and they're so reflective of other people around them that they absorb the negativity energy like that, and then they hold on to it, or they like immediately release it back out. And that's just a very, very harsh reality to live in. And I'm not saying that it's these people's fault that this happens, because people are very, very sensitive. But I'm saying there are tools out there, and there are practices that you can do to make yourself not so reactive. And I feel like a lot of people, I mean, and it's an important tool to have to change the world. But if you're angry and you're spewing all this, like, well, look at this and look at that, look how unequal we are, and this and this and this. I was there. I was at that point in my life where you feel like everything's an injustice towards you, and there's nothing you can do, and so you just shout it out from the rooftops. But that doesn't get any. It doesn't. People don't want to listen to that. They don't want to hear you, because it's all becomes just rhetoric. That kind of stuff works for a while. I mean, clearly look at some of the politicians out there. It works because enough people will connect into that like vibration, that low vibration, and they will feel like, yeah, this person's really talking, and we've all been suffering an injustice, and and it could be either way. It could be a very conservative person or a very liberal person. It's not all a good or a bad thing. It's a vibration. It's a low vibration where people feel like they have been wronged. And then there's a super optimistic to positive vibration where sometimes it's like a little delusional. And I know that people always think that spirituality is delusional, but I like to bring in a little bit of this like realism to the spirituality, because I feel like we do live on Earth, and so we do have to acknowledge the realness of life. And I might have started this channel out a little bit more like, ooh, on a spiritual plane that was kind of like, oh hi, how's it going, guys? But it's difficult to really find your voice right away, and to be understanding all this spirituality without extra dose of optimism and positivity, because we come into this and you look at these cards and you're like, yeah, so this deck is going to predict things. That's BS, and because we have this cynicism that's built within us. And I think that we need to have a healthy dose of skepticism, because there are people out there always trying to deceive us and trying to take advantage of us, which is why I don't charge for any of my readings on this channel. I offer personalized readings, and I think I've reduced the price really low. I mean, it's really more so just for helping me out financially, and not like, oh, and now I'm going to charge you $160 for a reading because I'm trying to make big buco bucks, and because that's no. I am connected, but I'm not going to take financial advantage of that, because it's not right. Because we all have the ability to connect. I just am more connected because I take the time to connect more to it. I don't know if my skills are greater than anyone else's. I'm not gonna, tout that. I think that would be a negative, not right way to think about it. because that's what it's been for so many years. It's been, well, here is the Pope, or here is the priest, or here is the vicar, or whatever the hell you call them. And, they are more connected to God, so you should, praise them and listen to everything that they have to say because they must be right. When in reality, they're the ones taking advantage of people, especially young, vulnerable people, young, vulnerable boys, young, vulnerable souls. I mean, for, ugh, just the, well, I mean, that's come out for a while now. And still there is not a whole lot of retribution, which hopefully will change because we are in Mercury and Libra in the retrograde, and things are starting to shift and change. But then, there's also the sexual revolution that's still going on, where we have the legitimacy of people who are trans and gay and non-sexual, I guess. It's like we're in the age of Aquarius, where now the ideas and the understandings of a multitude of people are coming about, and we are not holding on to a one idea of how people are supposed to be, and we are accepting of the understanding that there are different forms that people and different understandings of life that people are taking, that they are, they exist in a different way, and it's not for us to change someone or say that they are wrong or an abomination or anything of that sort, because who are we to judge another person's existence when we most likely don't even know our own existence that well? I think it's all about this like self-discovery of ourself, of life, and really what exactly our purpose is, and to be open to this mass spectrum of everything. Now, there's still that like the very deep pain that resonates with a lot of people, and that is, felt on the daily by everybody. You're sitting in traffic and somebody is just cut you off and just really just rude to you, and you're just, what? And you feel their energy, you feel their rudeness and their anger, and it permeates in you, and then you express that anger, and it's something that happens, and we try to not react, but a reaction is the natural process of those vibrations. But when we continually hold on to it and take it and keep it, that's when it becomes detrimental. I've been reading a lot, and several different meditation and books about spirituality and controlling your mental processes and mind, because I think that is the ultimate form of spirituality, is to be able to control your mind, because your mind can go off into these thought processes and patterns that are completely just waste of time and detrimental, which is a lot of what anxiety can be and depression can be, that we try to control with medication, which I hate, because that medication does not understand the rest of you. It's just trying to fix that one part. And when we fix ourselves instead of letting a medication do it, I mean, that's really that's where it's at. I mean, I guess I understand why some people take medication, because sometimes it gets so far to one direction that it's like it's so hard to come back from that, but it can be done. It really can be. I mean, we can control our thoughts. We can control our perceptions, and so the one thing that I took from a lot of these readings, that I have actually realized that I practiced before I even realized it, and then the rest of society and all these other things in life got in the way, is detachment. And I always thought it was a bad thing. And I actually got into this mindset, and it mostly emotional detachment. So I got into this mindset that I needed to be I needed to, wallow. I needed to remember. I needed to feel these things and be so through one of my relationships, because the person was complaining to me that I wasn't, feeling enough, or I wasn't, and I realized that I changed the way that I was and my thought process because of their issue with it. And the thing is, it was their issue, and I changed myself. Therefore, I was changing myself to satisfy another person's need for connection. And that's where the disconnect comes in. We should never be doing that. We should never, if somebody is complaining to you that you don't feel enough a certain way for them and it's not working for them, get rid of them. Get rid of them, because they're trying to project their insecurities and disconnect onto you. If they have an issue, they need to fix it within themselves. If somebody thinks that you are not enough of this or too much of this, maybe there's some kernel of like truth in that, but most of all, it's their issue and it's their understanding they need to fix. We should never try to change another person. The only person we should ever try to change is ourselves. We can bring it up to other people and we can take issues with it, but we can never fully ask somebody to become something different for us, because then that is this codependent compromise that we are asking somebody to make. And we should not be codependent. We should be independent people. That is a very important thing, because in the end, it's just us. We come into this world by ourselves and we leave this world by ourselves. There may be people around, but the only person within is you and your connection to spirit. I hate to get all fiery and brimstone. I wasn't getting all fiery and brimstone, but so let's light some of this before we pull some cards, because man, yesterday there was a stampede for this festival, the Raj festival. It was a Muslim trek that a lot of people make. 700 people died from being trampled, basically. I mean, I know that we're we stop being able to conceptualize people after a certain number, but that's a lot of people to be dying in a religious ceremony. I mean, and then we had the crash on Aurora here in Seattle. I wasn't, and I'm sure a lot of you experienced a lot of dismantling of things in your own lives. I mean, I definitely had an emotional meltdown myself. I mean, hard to believe, right? I'm so calm and collected all the time. But it's really good to have those moments, honestly, because when we continually are just trekking on this path forward, we're ignoring our feelings, and we're ignoring our understandings of life, and our what we're really, our desires are, and pay attention to what upsets you and what pisses you off, because those are things that are also desires that you are trying to deny. I mean, we like to think that, like, oh, hate is oh, well, we hate something, so it should just go away. No. If we hate something, we should understand why we hate it and figure out what is the disconnect within ourselves. Yeah, what is it? The opposite of love and hate is indifference. If you are indifferent to something, then that means it does not affect you. It is not something that is in your scope. If you love something, maybe it's something that you are using to compensate for something else, honestly, because sometimes we can love things a little bit too much. We can be too passionate and too forward about some things. Like, if we continually are trying to become a certain thing and we overdo it, it can actually be a detriment to ourselves. Like, when I was trying to start a business, I was going at it just way too hard and not really in the right way, where it takes time to develop, and I was just straight ahead going, and that was a lesson to be learned. And it's like we see it as like a failure if we don't accomplish that goal that we've set out for ourselves, but really we do accomplish something. We accomplish learning the process of how to get there, and it's a lifelong process of learning to get to those goals. So now I have a better understanding about how to try to run a business. I mean, right now I'm probably not going to attempt it because I don't have the energy or the the ability to do that, but I try to do a little bit on the side where I am, I do readings and other kind of things, but having a full-fledged business, probably not. All right, let's pull some cards, because we have this amazing full blood moon lunar eclipse. The blood part isn't really that rare. We have a lot of blood moons. We see them quite often. But the full lunar eclipse, the fourth one and called the tetrad, everyone will be sending everyone else links about that, connected to a lot of people who are connected to the moon. But it's this, it's an Aries, which, so the moon is, when it's full, is opposite of the sun, and that means something is becoming fully illuminated in our lives, wherever it falls in the house of, for you. And Aries is the first house in the traditional, like, setup for the the wheel of the zodiac. So you have the 12 signs, and it's the first one, it's the newest one, and because they did the the calendar, the astrological calendar starts in spring, not January, like they always like to have it, and because it's the first move, the beginning. It's the warrior. He makes the first move. He goes out and he acts. He makes the action. So he's the the cardinal action. And then we have Cancer as the cardinal emotional. I have cards popping out all over the place. And then we have, Libra, which is the cardinal communication and connection, because it's the air sign, and the cardinal thought, the beginning. And then we have Capricorn, the cardinal the earth sign. So it's the cardinal earth, which is about beginning of stability, or of course the work, or hunker. It's like a very it's like the first piece of land that needs to be tilled, or it's the very beginning of a very practical start of something. Okay. Mm-hmm. Oh, and we have an extra one popping out. Well, all right. Oh, interesting. Okay, so this is going to be a long reading, but it's a special, so there you go. Of course. So we have for the first spread, the level, the conscious level, we'll call it. We have the High Priestess reversed, Death upright, Five of Wands reversed, and the Eight of Cups upright. So this tells me, obviously there's a transition, there's a transformation going on. Death is not death, it's a transformation. We are going from one incarnation of ourselves, understanding of ourselves, to another understanding. And next to the High Priestess in reverse, it is this, you know, the High Priestess is all about being connected to the higher being, the mysterious sexual understanding power, and with, you know, not being connected like we are for most of our lives. We live in this like earthly realm where we believe more in a practical understanding of the world. We believe in this, you know, and we see things for logically how we think that they are, and the value of how they are in this life, which is why a lot of people feel like they are not traditionally valued, in a sense, because we live so much on an earthly plane. But it is expanding and understanding your view of what all there really is, which I think is going to become known in this eclipse. It's the beginning of the multidimensional understanding, and the High Priestess in the reverse, I think, represents a lot of that. I mean, we have in this picture, see all these like these like pillars. I think they represent the levels and the chakras of understanding and connection to the different planes. I mean, we live definitely very much in these two chakras, and these, well, in in this level, and not so much up here. And it's really important for us to connect to other understandings and realize that we are greater than ourselves. We are more than our bodies. We are more than what the world tells us who we are. And I think a lot of people are starting to realize that, but they don't know exactly where to channel that understanding, which is why I'm here. So we have death, which is the transformation, which is the understanding, which is the coming out of the cocoon. We even have a little like larvae thing. It's represented by Scorpio. And it is child of the great transformers. I love it. You know, what is it? Scorpios always seem so morbid, but they're just more understanding and accepting of the idea that things are temporary and that death is around us, and you know, that and Taurians too. I know a lot of Taurians who are morticians or body workers, people who deal with the stuff, or caretakers, people who deal with the stuff that's undesirable to other people, but they know it needs to be done. That is a higher understanding. I mean, people call it maturity, but it's just a higher understanding. That's really what it is. And a lot of people don't want to have that higher understanding because it comes with a great price of heaviness. Because there's a lot of things you have to understand to have that higher understanding. There's a lot of things that come along with it that make us uncomfortable, that make us feel like we can't do it because it's another level. It's understanding the next level. So we have the Five of Wands in reverse, which is all about actions. But it's also, it can be, trying to deal with a lot of different things or a lot of different people all at once. And so I feel like there will be a lot of people having intense, I wouldn't say arguments, but there'll be a lot of actions that are contradictory to one another. There's a lot of things going on right now in the world that are very much in conflict with one another, and I could see there being a little outbreak of some kind of conflict of maybe it doesn't have to be a war conflict, but it definitely may be some and when it's in reverse, it's can be talking about underhanded actions. So somebody may, we have that guy who is, jacked up the price of medication after buying it. So maybe there's someone else who's going to be doing something that's kind of underhanded. But then we also have the Eight of Cups, which is all about letting go and leaving a situation and moving on. And it's in the upright, so we are making that choice to move on. And I always get really uncomfortable with that, with the Eight of Cups, because I tend to hold on to emotional situations. That is just one of my battles in life, and trying to become detached emotionally. Lord of Abandoned Success. That's, yeah. And it's like we are choosing to leave a situation that is no longer serving us, that we actually feel indifferent about. It's not something that we are still struggling with in an emotional sense. It is something that we have been holding on to as like backup, because we think that it's a safety net, but really it's hindering us from moving forward. And it's interesting because in this card, so we have two flowers feeding the two cups in the middle of them all, and I find that so intriguing. And I see new stuff on this deck all the time because it's so intricate. But the hand is holding the flowers, and and they're basically crying out or like emptying out into these two cups. So the 6 cups are basically empty, and they have nothing left to fulfill. But we have the 2 cups that are filled. That's very interesting. If that means anything significant to you, I really hope that it does, and it pulls something for you. So on this earthly plane, I feel like we're starting to mature. We're starting to realize that there are higher planes, and that there is another understanding of why things have happened, why things may have been feel like they're underhanded. So here's the Five of Wands, if that comes out for anything for you. Lord of Strife. We have the lion's head on the end of the wands and stuff like that, and the snakes. But we're coming to this greater understanding of why we've had to deal with these lessons, why we've had to deal with this strife. And I feel like we can detach and let go of some of this anger, let go of some of the strife that we have felt, because yes, it's important for us to feel them sometimes to actually gain momentum and change and have this movement of understanding in life, but we don't need it consistently, because if we're consistently feeling this turmoil and awfulness, then I mean it's the life is really, I mean, yes, it's hard, but it doesn't have to be that hard all the time. It can be where we're learning our lessons and we're making change, and we're feeling that we've, there's things that we take on and that we are bequeathed in life that are there to teach us, and that we're there to learn from. And then we can also walk away when we know that we've learned that lesson, when we have felt that understanding of things, when we realize when something is no longer serving us or useful to us, regardless of any kind of sentimentality that we have towards it. Because sentimentality is just sentimentality. Sometimes we hold on to people and friendships and jobs and housing situations for far too long, just because we have the good memories that they hold for us. But in the daily excuse me, in the daily idea of it, they do not really serve us. They don't. And they're actually holding us back, because we're like, oh, remember when that was so great, and but then that was just that. It was great when it was, but life changes and you change, and so you need to adjust. I always adjust far too quickly, and then there's that great drop in between for me. There's that Aries charging ahead, just do. I'm a Sagittarius, but I have an Aries life path, North Node, so it's too quick. It's for my own good. So then, on the punctuation mark higher level understanding, we have the Five of Pentacles in reverse, which is awesome. We're stepping out of this feeling of lack and feeling of less than secure. And then we have the Nine of Swords in reverse, which, well, it's always really uncomfortable and scary to make those understandings and the changes. And these ones are really scary. They're like wobbly, like swords and stuff. Like, I would not want to get sliced up with this thing. But it's in reverse, so I really feel like we are starting to move past our fears that we have been feeling about the change, because change is scary, and it's very, alright, I'm going to try and finish this quickly, because we're getting up on 40 minutes, and I don't know how many of you guys are going to want to watch to the end. So we're starting to move past these obsessive anxiety thoughts, and we have the Nine of Pentacles in reverse here. So we have 2 nines, which is great. And then we have the King of Pentacles in reverse. And the King of Pentacles in reverse can be about an institution or a financial security. It can also represent a person, a man. So maybe this represents you. Maybe this represents your security. Maybe it represents because it can also represent a shisty business person, a shisty business, a shallow, very superficial person, because it also rules the realm of our tangible things. Somebody who is very into looks or status, or what kind of car you drive, or how much money you have in the bank. And I think we're letting go of a lot of this mentality, and we're feeling more secure in the fact that we don't necessarily have 100% financial security, but yet we have an emotional, mental security in ourselves, that we realize that regardless of how much money we actually have, we can be secure in ourselves, because we know on a higher level that we are connected, and that we feel the feeling of security does not come from material things. And then we have 10 of Wands in reverse here. So there's going to be a lot of things coming at us, a lot of things weighing on us right now. We have done all the actions. We have completed everything that we needed to do. And we have little Sagittarius, little arrow at the bottom there. So yes, we've done all the things, the adjustments. We've done everything. We now see everything all the chips have fallen into place. And it is time to reflect and understand what needs to go, what needs to stay, and what still needs work in our lives. All right. Let's get to the love cards real quick before it runs too long, and then I'll let you go. All right. So we have, my love is like an ocean, forever longing for your shore. You are an eternal ocean of love. I close my eyes and my heart is filled with a rose quartz light. Life is a cycle of changing seasons. Let us welcome each new season and surrender the past with grace. Let us remember that nothing is ever lost, for all exists eternally within our heart. We are eternally blessed by a profound love, by a sacred union with the great source of light, whose love moves heaven and earth and stars. Your love life will transform when you learn to truly love yourself just as you are. You are perfect just the way you are. Accept this and you'll be amazed by the changes it brings in your life. That's security. Feeling like you don't need outside things to make you feel secure or better or desirable. You are loved more than you consciously know. Share your insecurities with the one that you love. You will be surprised and reassured by their reaction. Love is all around you. And I leave you here, and I'm sorry for it being so long, but it is a very, very important time in our lives, and I wish you the best of luck with everything that you need to do, all the decisions you need to make, everything that you are going through. Know that you are not alone. Bye.